History is filled with cruelty, but few stories feel as disturbingly personal as this one. An emperor, feared by millions, didn't just destroy enemies, he turned his power against the very woman who gave him life. What Nero did to his mother wasn't just murder, it was calculated, theatrical, and far more horrifying than most history books dare to fully describe. Before the empire ever feared Nero, there was a woman quietly shaping his destiny from the shadows. His mother, Agrippina the Younger. She wasn't just protective, she was strategic, calculating every move in a world where power was survival. Born into the powerful Julio-Claudian dynasty, Agrippina understood Rome better than most men who ruled it. She knew alliances mattered more than loyalty, and influence mattered more than love. When she married Emperor Claudius, who was also her uncle, it wasn't romance, it was positioning. She worked relentlessly to ensure that her son, not Claudius's own biological heir, would sit on the throne. Step by step, she removed obstacles, built connections, and placed Nero in the line of succession. Ancient sources suggest that when Claudius suddenly died, many believed Agrippina had a hand in it, possibly poisoning him to accelerate Nero's rise. Whether fully proven or not, the suspicion alone shows how far she was willing to go. To her, this wasn't cruelty, it was necessity. Rome was unforgiving, and hesitation meant extinction. By the time Nero became emperor at just 16, his power wasn't accidental. It was engineered, crafted by a mother who saw him not just as her son, but as her legacy. But in creating a ruler with absolute power, Agrippina may have unknowingly created the very force that would one day destroy her. Subscribe my channel, Shadow History. When Nero first took the throne, he didn't rule alone, because Agrippina the Younger made sure of that. At just 16, he was young, inexperienced, and still deeply under her influence. She positioned herself not just as his mother, but as a power behind the throne, sometimes quite literally. Ancient accounts describe her attending official meetings, listening in on political discussions, and even trying to sit beside him as if she shared imperial authority. For a time, it worked. Senators and officials understood that if you wanted Nero's favor, you had to go through Agrippina first. But power shared is power contested. As Nero grew older, he began to feel suffocated by her control. Advisors like Seneca the Younger and Sextus Afranius Burrus subtly encouraged him to step out of her shadow, to rule as an emperor rather than a son under supervision. The shift was gradual, but undeniable. Nero started making decisions without her, spending more time away from her influence, and forming relationships she didn't approve of, especially with women she saw as threats to her authority. What Agrippina viewed as rightful control, Nero saw as domination. Their relationship began to crack under the strain. Conversations turned into arguments, influence turned into interference, and trust slowly dissolved into suspicion. In the dangerous world of Roman politics, where betrayal was often preemptive, both mother and son began to see each other not as allies, but as potential threats. And in Rome, once fear replaces trust, blood is never far behind. By the time the tension reached its peak, Nero had stopped thinking like a son entirely. He was now thinking like a ruler who saw danger everywhere, even in his own blood. Removing Agrippina the Younger couldn't be done openly at first. She was too powerful, too visible, and too closely tied to his rise. So Nero turned to deception. He devised a plan that was as elaborate as it was chilling, a specially constructed ship engineered to collapse while at sea. The idea was simple. Invite his mother on a seemingly peaceful journey, then let the ocean take the blame. Agrippina accepted the invitation, unaware of the trap waiting beneath her feet. As the ship sailed under the quiet Roman sky, the mechanism was triggered. Parts of the vessel gave way and chaos erupted. It should have been the perfect crime, swift, silent, and untraceable. But something went wrong. Instead of dying in the wreckage, Agrippina survived. Whether by instinct or sheer will, she managed to escape the sinking structure and swim to safety. Exhausted but alive, she reached the shore, fully aware now that this had been no accident. That moment changed everything. The illusion was shattered. Nero's intentions were no longer hidden behind politics or whispers. They were undeniable. A son had attempted to murder his own mother and failed. And once a secret like that is exposed, there is no returning to silence. After the failed plot at sea, Nero no longer had the luxury of subtlety. Agrippina the Younger was alive, and worse, she knew. In the volatile atmosphere of Rome, that knowledge alone made her more dangerous than ever. Nero understood that if he hesitated now, the consequences could be fatal for him instead. So he made a decision that erased any remaining boundary between fear and brutality. He ordered a group of soldiers to go to her villa and finish what he had started. When they arrived, the tension must have been suffocating. This was not an enemy general or a rival politician they were sent to kill. It was the emperor's own mother. Yet the command was clear, and in Rome, orders from the emperor were absolute. According to ancient historians, when the soldiers confronted Agrippina, she didn't run, and she didn't plead for mercy. Instead, she faced them with a calm that was almost defiant. In one of the most haunting moments recorded, she is said to have told them to strike her womb, the place that had once carried Nero. It was more than a final act of courage. It was a statement, heavy with meaning. The very life she had given was now the force that ended her. There was no chaos this time, no failed mechanism, only a direct, irreversible act. And with that order carried out, Nero didn't just eliminate a threat, he silenced the woman who had made him emperor. In the aftermath, Nero tried to regain control of the narrative, but control over facts is never as easy as control over people. He claimed that Agrippina the Younger had been plotting against him, that her death was necessary for the safety of the empire. Official messages were sent to the Senate, carefully crafted to justify what had happened, turning a brutal act into a political necessity. And for a moment, it worked, because in Rome, power often dictated truth. But beneath the surface, whispers spread quickly. People didn't just see an emperor protecting himself. They saw a son who had crossed a line even Rome rarely crossed. What followed was not relief, but a subtle unraveling. Nero's behavior grew more erratic, his decisions more impulsive, as if removing his mother hadn't brought him peace, but had instead deepened his instability. Without Agrippina's influence, there was no longer anyone capable of restraining him, no force balancing his excesses. The same ambition and control that once built his power were now gone, leaving behind a ruler driven by suspicion and unchecked authority. Those around him began to understand a dangerous truth. If he could eliminate his own mother, no one was truly safe. In trying to secure his power, Nero had revealed the darkest side of it, that absolute authority, when mixed with fear, doesn't protect a ruler. It isolates him. And sometimes, the greatest threat to power is the person who holds it. The story of Nero and Agrippina isn't just about betrayal, it's about how power can erase even the most fundamental human bonds. A mother who built an empire for her son, and a son who repaid her with fear and death. History often softens its darkest truths, but in this case, the reality may be even more chilling than the legend.